Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I have an exciting 2v2 replay for you guys where I was playing alongside Key Pals in the EU 2v2 tournament last Sunday. This particular replay is the semi-finals up against Mondkind and Merles, I believe two very strong players from Germany. So yeah, that's what's ahead of us. I have also, I think, fixed some interference that was in the audio in a couple of my previous videos. It's an issue I've had in the past. I thought I'd fixed it. I didn't fix it. I think now I fixed it with some, new wires, rewiring, repositioning of all my equipment. And I hope it's good now. So yeah, do let me know if that is something that you picked up on in some of my, recent videos and whether it's now solved. Anyway, the point of this video is to showcase the importance of buying temp range in some later rounds. And, you will see that it actually has a massive impact here on some of the round outcomes in this particular game. My ally here is a Rhino specialist, starting with spiders and crawlers, and he has probably one of the worst matchups he could have possibly faced, which is Sabertooth. On this small map with, double building plus magnetic barricade in the middle, you just cannot push here, so you kind of have to be on this side, and yeah, that is not going to be a good time. His opponent, Mondkind, also has Sabertooth Specialist, which is not going to help things, but, I'll talk you guys through kind of what our plan was, because we were on comms during this 2v2 game. And, how we wanted to try and salvage that situation. On this side, things are a bit better. I'm a giant spec. My opponent is a fortified spec. I started with Steel Ball Fang. I'm going to play defensively. I add 2 hounds here on round 1. And, if you saw my previous video on Mountain, I was still forcing Mountain the entire day here. Which, I was planning to do this game. So yeah, that's why I buy the hounds. I plan on going Incendiary Bomb early. I sold one of my middle buildings because I just did not think that they would try and push middle with this setup. And I could really use the extra cash on round 2 to get Incendiary Bomb and still be able to do some other stuff, right? Buy maybe some of the cards that are offered, or at least make sure that I do have some more solid anti-air. Right side is going well. Left side was a disaster. We pretty much expected that we would lose here. There's nothing my ally can do. It's just a horrible, horrible matchup. So we were kind of expecting to lose, about 2,000 hit points or so before you could stabilize. But thankfully, we picked pretty healthy specialist, and at 6.2k hit points, there was not too much to be worried about. We're going to speed things up here a little bit, but there's not much we can do. The Chungus takes down my steel balls, and these sabers plus arclights will very easily get rid of all of the fangs that I still had. And we're basically just trying to set up our board here to be a bit more successful, starting round 4 or maybe even 5. Here we go, round number 2. You can have a look at the cards over here. And it is a unit drop. Now, for most of us, Marksman here is just the best pick. You get 2 deployments, which is always amazing this early on. And it's just a very solid pickup, right? I need some anti-air here. And, that immediately fixes that problem I had. This is a very rough drop again for my ally because, when you face spiders and sabers like this, you basically have to sell your spiders, and your best option is typically going to be to go Wraith, because Wraith is just insanely good in these headbutts, and it's especially very good if your opponent is playing Hound. Here we have Arclights instead, but that was the plan. Now, that's going to be a bit more difficult because, the Marksman dropped. He does run AA. And you kind of need a little bit of tempo to get Wraith going. Later on, Marksmen aren't the worst, and you can, distract them with things like Wasps. But when you get them this early, it's gonna be a bit of a pain. So our idea here was maybe we just play Fire Badger instead on this board. And try to, just chaff clear everything. Potentially just play Void Eye with Fire Badgers and Scorching Charge. Just explode all of the crawlers, get rid of it immediately, and then the Void Eyes are kind of the strongest asset here, and you can maybe play for mass Void Eye on round 3 with charge shots to take down these sabers. That was the plan, so that's why the Fire Badgers are here. On my side, it's not too exciting. I buy a Hound, I click Incendiary Bomb, I buy another Fang here on the left side to kind of protect the middle in case of some shenanigans, and that's the whole round. On the other side, Sledgehammer got picked up with a Fang as well, and I believe another Arclight in the middle there, which I was kind of surprised about. I didn't think that Merla's would pick up the sledge. I think that perhaps Marksman was just as good, if not better for her. But I mean, Sledgehammer is fine. It does a good job against the steel balls, and it definitely does a decent job at stalling against my hounds as well, so it's not a bad pick by any means, but she will have to solve her anti-air problems here at some point. Do note that, again, I was streaming all of this. I was forcing Mountain for a couple days straight, so what you will see in this game might seem a little bit crazy, but yeah, the people that I'm facing here are also people who sometimes pop up in my stream, and Merla's also had been watching, so she kind of knew what was coming, which is why on round 4, you know, don't be too surprised about, yeah, what she's going to be purchasing. Round number 3, let's have a look at what was offered. Nothing amazing here. You could pick Super Supply, which is what Merla's picks. I'm not a big fan of this card in general, as some of you might know. I just don't think it pays off a ton. The earliest you can get it is round 3, so the best round to pick it is round 3, but 2v2 games tend to go for a bit shorter than 1v1s, so it's really hard to get amazing value out of this card, and you're putting yourself down 150 resources in the early to mid game, which is where 150 resources are worth a lot more than later on, right, in comparison, because your economy kind of scales as the game goes on. Deployment module here is a fine pickup. Advanced power system could be nice, but it's not really important for me in this long-range matchup, and in a headbutt it tends to not do too much either. I decided to go for a Wasp here. I did pick up the deployment module to be able to retrieve this at some point. Wasp is always going to be kind of, I mean, nice to punish lack of anti-air. Note that my opponent also does buy a Wasp, however, so it'll, you know, come down to that fight. I have a lot of Fangs, though, which should be able to dispatch of those Wasps. And one missile gets purchased here in the middle, which will actually stop me from getting that debuff, sadly. And that is pretty much the round. I'm keeping 300 in the bank here, as you can see, which I do because I want to go for a Mountain on round 4. And in this game, I was considering perhaps going for Extended Range Mountain, which is a bit of a different version of the build that I've been showcasing on my channel. But it's also, I think, pretty good. If your opponent is playing Arclights or Vulcan Marksman and stuff like that, even Melting Point, Extended Range Mountain is actually quite good into it. Left side, trying to stabilize here. You do get the Mass Void Eyes with the Charge Shot, but it is the Power Spike turn for Mondkind. He gets one more Sabertooth. He clicks Double Shot as well, which is only 100, thanks to that Specialist, right, making the techs a bit cheaper. So not a round we're really supposed to win, but round 4... perhaps we can do something as, well, Key Pals is banked 100, I have banked 300, and, well, you know, we are kind of trying to power spike around, you know, that moment in this fight. I can speed things up here as nothing too special will happen. Got a couple of stray Fangs that will get taken out. Range Arclight was picked up here from Merla's, so she does have a bit of a power spike of her own. And now we have round number 4. No cards I'm really interested in. Port Shield is a good card, and it does get picked up here by Mondkind. Very good on things like Sabers, especially if they manage to get the level, which they're pretty close to be honest. And my ally, Key Pals, goes for the improved Wraith after all, as, well, he felt like he could probably just pull it off anyway. This late, an improved Wraith is a very good card. And there is perhaps something to do in the middle at some point here with those Wraith. So Wraith gets purchased and put here on the left side. Also, the Rhino is now available for Key Pals, which he's just trying to tank the Sabertooth with by himself sometime to clear all the chaff, and then hopefully the Void Eyes can finish the job. As for me, I retrieve my Wasp with the deployment module, I put it on my main board, and I add a Mountain on the field. And you will see that on the other side, there is now a Melting Point. As I mentioned before, I was streaming all of this. I was very clear during my streams that I was hard forcing Mountain. So yeah, any opponent that happens to watch my stream would know about this. And Merla's was definitely one of them. So that's why the Melting Point with range gets purchased here. Now, if I wasn't forcing this and this shows up and I hadn't purchased the Mountain yet, Of course, Melting Point is not that good into the rest of my board. What I would have done is just probably buy triple Stormcaller next round and maybe even play for mass Stormcaller with range and overload. In this scenario, it's not even the end of the world long term because extended range ammo actually does beat Melting Point. Melting Point is good into Mountain up until this tech gets clicked. So yeah, that was the plan moving forward. The only sad bit is that with the Melting Point on the board and it's already having range as well, it's rather unlikely I win this round, which is usually what you would be aiming for. It's almost impossible to beat a Mountain the turn it comes out, unless you are preemptively countering it, like here. So I do end up losing. I managed to kill at least a good amount of units, as I don't even know what happens there, but a piece of the Mountain perhaps goes flying across the battlefield. We're down to 1,300 hit points, and this is really where we have to try and stabilize, because otherwise, we're just going to be dead on round 5. Round number 5, Dominion Core shows up, new item, gets picked up by Keypals, who's actually a big fan of the item, and we get an amplifying core for his opponent Mondkind, as he does manage to level all of his saviors on this round. Not ideal, but we can go for some big plays. And well, my ally said, you know, I think I'm going to try and push the middle here because it's pretty vulnerable. And I was like, well, I could try and help you out. I buy extended range Mountain. I still had some money left. I had that Wasp with the deployment module. So just add a crawler here to block any missiles. And a missile does get purchased, so it's good that we put that there. And then the Wasp should be able to at least block some of the shots on this Wraith. It's a bit risky, naturally, because, you know, Dominion Core, if this Wraith goes down, this entire army explodes. But I felt like, you know, we could pull this off. It was a pretty, like, scary push-in. And we have extended range, double Mountain right now. Merla's does feel like something might be up, so she levels the tower to 3. Mondkind also levels once. We should still be able to take that down, but of course it won't be quite as valuable. And we even have a loan coming out here on round 5, which I think is a correct play to make. I think, you know, if your opponent's already down to 1,300, you can finish this in 1 or 2 rounds if you manage to win both. So I think loaning here, not a bad idea at all. And I'm also loaning because I really need the money to make all of this happen. Arclights now get Shockwave. And a bunch of extra Wasps are picked up, which might be tough for me to deal with. I do have the Fangs, but not immediately looking to counter those. Probably just buy more Fangs, honestly. It could even go for something like Portable Shield, which isn't the worst. Even into Shockwave Arclights, I think it's worth clicking. We'll have to see. The good thing is, even though I don't have the best Wasp answer right now, although my Fangs are doing a decent job, the Mountains can't hit air, so they don't get distracted by the Wasps either. And this is something that is a pretty common theme in Mechabellum. Like, even if your opponent doesn't have anti-air, you know, sometimes buying air doesn't even really do that much for you because you end up losing the ground so hard, right? Because all of these units can't hit air anyway, so they don't get distracted by air. And sure, they might get hit, but Mountains are so tanky, they don't really care too much about these Wasps. This Wraith over here, trying to do its very best, but AA did get picked up by Mondkind, and it will eventually go down. Thankfully, the rest of the army had already crumbled, so he doesn't really lose anything there with the Dominion Core. And, well, all of my Mountains should be able to take care of the remainder of these units. I mean, just look at that range. 260 meters is quite a lot. And the Fang Pack that I think originated from this left side manages to kill the final Fangs. Round number 6 looks like we have unit drops. And we have some pretty interesting ones here. And we thought, well, we could either sell out, but with these unit drops, we could just keep pushing. Double blue steel ball, great with these Wraith. And I decided to pick up the Typhoons to just provide some more frontline, right? I can protect the crawlers here, and the barriers in general just tend to be very useful as the game moves on. So double Typhoon in the middle, and we just keep pushing in. Double steel ball here, and that should be able to take down the towers relatively quick if we manage to lock on. Aside from that, nothing too amazing. I buy another Fang here in the middle, and that's pretty much it. I buy a crawler as well. I do loan temp range, and that's going to be about all she wrote. My opponent Merla's goes for the Abyss, which I think is the correct play as well. This is kind of the back and forth when you're playing against Mountain. Mountain with extended range cannot click AA because you will just nuke your DPS so much that you can't kill anything. So typically, if you manage to bait out extended range, then Abyss is good. If your opponent doesn't click extended range, Abyss is not that good. AA Mountain actually does crush Abyss kind of well. It's surprising like how powerful this unit is into almost anything. Middle towers here go down, and we should be able to catch up. The mountains also, as you can see, just heavily outranging the melting point here. That really can't do too much. And on the left side, Keepals is doing pretty well. Keep in mind he has been mostly investing in the middle to get those towers. So the fact that he manages to win, or, well, not win, but at least take out a good portion of Monkin's army there with not that many resources is very valuable. Thankfully, the Typhoons are still here to tank, because I didn't have a way to deal with that Abyss. But the Wraith with the Dominion Core and the improved card is strong enough to take it down. And now, my Mountains with 260 meters can simply become tanks, because they still have almost 160,000 hit points. And, well, the Raidens without Iron Eyes are not going to be doing too much against that. So, the Dominion King Wraith manages to take down everything there. And we are somewhat stabilizing. Opponent's now down to 3.4k. Round number 7. Big red spell shows up. Ion Blast. I mean, we just have to pick that up. If you just look at this board, right? That is way too ionable. For me, it's not as interesting. I don't think there's too much to hit. I don't really care about the Arclights or the Melting Point. I feel like I'm beating them anyway. And the Abyss can probably tank the Ion Beam without really dying. So I didn't want to spend the resources there. I will end up skipping. But everyone else does pick it. And, well, we realized, oh, we probably have to try and save this Wraith. Because if it goes down, that is a really, really bad thing, right? Like, this entire field will just end up dying. So, yeah, we have to beacon that to the side. I'm going to go for a similar beacon myself to try and avoid all my Typhoons dying. And I have to buy a Melting Point here to be able to get rid of that Abyss. So, there it is. I do position it kind of in the back. The one problem, I guess, with Melting Point and Mountain is that the Melting Point gets outranged. I mean, anything does. So it could end up getting caught. And I don't have the best anti-air still, because I just don't have the deployments right now to fix that. Down the line, I probably want to have like 2 more Typhoons back here, perhaps even with aerial specialization. But for now, I was hoping that my Fangs would do the trick. Another Abyss shows up in the middle. We have a Raiden as well to defend the towers. Both of those towers now level 3. We'll have to see how this plays out. Crisscross in the middle there with the Ion Beams, but I think we do an okay job of dodging it. The Wraith gets grazed, but that's basically all. You just have to hope it doesn't get locked onto, though. There is a Marksman here, level 2 with AA, and the chaff is starting to dwindle. Although, units are moving in, so I think he'll be fine, and this Wraith can definitely beat that Raiden, no problem. Mountains are doing well. The chaff is kind of getting in the way, and the Abyss does lock onto the Melting Point, kind of something I was afraid of. Sadly, it does die before we get that debuff. So I'll have to rely on my ally again to be able to take everything down. But oh no, there it goes. That Wraith, that is the one downside to Dominion Core. Finally, the Wraith gets caught by the one Abyss. It was very close to going down, but I won't have anything here to be able to get rid of those Abysses. Thankfully, though, we can tank 1,000 HP. So we're not out of it yet. Very, very sketchy round. Round number 8, more big red spells, Lightning Storm and Nuke showing up. And at this point, we're saying, okay, well, we really cannot afford to risk anymore. We've risked plenty, so we probably have to sell this Wraith and just hold on to the Dominion Core for this round and to try and survive the spells. I'm quite happy with the Storm, as it fixes my Wasp problem for 1 round, and I don't immediately have to solve it, because I felt like I also needed more Melting Points. So this way I can basically stall having to buy those Typhoons, and I know that the Storm will take care of the Wasps and clear the way for the Melting Points to do their thing. At first, I thought maybe I would put a Melting Point here to target this Abyss, but then we thought, wait, we're probably getting nuked in the middle, so never mind. Let's just put that back on the main field and abandon this whole idea. The 2 towers are level 3 anyway, so it's not the most valuable to push into. And because I get to delay my Typhoon play, I now get to pick Shielded Fang, which I had meant to do for some time. I beacon backwards my Typhoons. My ally beacons his Steel Balls over to the left and goes for a nuke himself onto these units, although they also get beaconed back. Storm here is a little bit surprising. I think nuke probably would have been better, although there are quite a few small units, so I guess it's not the worst. We'll just have to see how this plays out. Not quite sure what was done with the money here. Abyss level, I guess, got picked up, and maybe some more chaff, but that's about it. Also, I guess, the spell. But yeah, we will definitely manage to dodge that nuke, and we might even be able to pull some of these enemy units into the nuke and, well, have them deal friendly fire. In fact, I mean, that's a good amount of chaff in the first place, and if we look from above, even the Abyss there gets caught. One of the Raidens die. And that nuke could have almost been ours, really, with how well it hit. Right side going well. The Fangs are doing a good job of tanking here, and I do manage to lock on with my melting point, so very happy about that. Still have a melting point here that I added that should be able to get rid of this Abyss. And this is a very, very dominant round. Left side also winning. Some of the small stuff did die to the Storm, but the Wraith crucially managed to survive. And so, looks like we're pulling a bit of a comeback here. Massive amounts of damage being dealt on round 8. And that's things basically equal entering round 9, which will likely be the final round of this game. Now, if you look at the cards, this unit reinforcements, I wasn't looking for anything specific at this point. The only thing I wanted was to finally buy a couple more Typhoons with aerial specialization, because the Wasps were a problem for me. And yeah, none of these unit drops really helped me do that, so I should just take and sell. The Vulcan sells for the most this turn, so that's what I go for. And I think almost everyone does that. Just take and sell and invest into your board. Abysses now have range. And I should be buying more Typhoons. Now, the one thing I was a little bit afraid of is an oil play, because obviously I did go Shielded Fang, and Fangs are weak into fire. And I thought, well, my opponent hasn't purchased it yet, so perhaps she will do that. So that's why you see these very far forward barriers for me to try and block that type of play. I don't think it comes out, but I do believe it's the correct thing to do, because I just have to try and cover my bases here. Shielded Wasp comes out, so it's a good thing that I am buying more Typhoons. A couple of missile interceptors as well to try and block that fire. I add another Hound in the middle here just to try and, well, kill this crawler outright. And you can see now 2 Typhoons all the way in the back with the aerial specialization tech. I also beacon backwards these Typhoons a bit less than before. I felt like they didn't need to move, you know, all the way back. That way they participate in the fight a bit earlier. I also level up my mountain to try and take down this level 2 melting point a little bit more quickly. And on the left, I think the Dominion Core is back. Indeed it is. Wraith on the flank here, actually managing to win, by the way. 8-gun, a really scary thing at this point, with double attack, double defense enhancement, and improved Wraith. On the right side, I am happy I bought the Typhoon. Some of them sadly get stuck behind the melting points, but it seems like they have enough range anyway to at least shoot at those Wasps, but perhaps I should have put them in a different spot. However, if we look at my left tower, one of the things I did not purchase is somehow lone and temp range. And, well, if we look at what happens here, my melting points get sniped. I did talk about this before, but the mountains can't really tank for them. And this looks like a potential disaster. All of the Abysses are still alive. Now, my ally does have AA Marksman, but that Wraith has a Dominion Core on it again, and look at that beam. It just swipes left and right over the entirety of this Wraith line. The Wraith goes down, and so we end up losing. And it was only after this round where I was like, wait, how did I even end up losing that? I feel like my board should easily beat this. I have, you know, the Shielded Fangs, which are annoying. I bought aerial specialization on the turn that she went for Shielded Wasps. Of course, my melting points got caught, but I felt like I should have, you know, cleared everything faster anyway and then had Fangs to protect. And then I looked at my tower And I was sitting there like, I didn't click enhanced range on round 9, which like you would expect me to do after 4,000 hours. Like I would think it's just ingrained in my muscle memory at this point, but somehow I didn't. And then I really wanted to replay the round, right? Because I was like, oh, don't tell me that I lost this because of lack of temp range. Like surely it's not that, right? I'll take the Vulcan here. And I'll beacon back these guys already. I will go for AA as I did, and I will loan and temp range as I was meaning to do, and buy 2 more of these guys somewhere over here, I guess. Let's perhaps put them kind of like this to make sure that they do kill the correct stuff. I could put this Wasp in the middle. I think I leveled that. I think I also picked up a Hound. I will do the round as I did it. And 2 shields up front, because I did want to block any oil shenanigans that might come out. And then I probably should level 1 of my melting points, which I believe I also did in the game. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I could level up this Wasp and then, you know, we play the round. This time with temp range, which is quite significant because it gives 15 bonus range to my melting points and maybe will allow them to, you know, survive. It also gives, you know, the bonus range to my Typhoons, which crucially might be able to hit the Wasps a bit earlier. Again, here this Typhoon gets stuck behind the melting points. I hoped I had fixed that, but it looks like that's not the case. We'll have to see. We are stalling a good amount of time here. Hopefully my Typhoons can also clear the Fangs, make sure that this melting point locks onto the correct targets. And in fact, it does. And oh no. You wouldn't think it is something as simple as this, but 15 range does make all the difference. I should not have sped that up. This game does not run well in 2v2 currently. Oh, I'm sorry for that, but yeah. That's all the difference. Temp range on a final round, and it completely swings how the round would have gone, and we would have been victorious. So, yeah, bit painful, but hopefully now I won't forget to do that again. And it showcases, you know, how simple things can be sometimes. If you're in the late game, round 7+, and especially when you started loaning, you gotta click it. Temp speed also quite good. In this type of standard game, it's not really necessary because it doesn't achieve much, but also a very, very, very powerful thing to click later on. So don't forget to press it. Anyway, if you guys liked this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it. And yeah, have you been playing some Mountain recently, or do you not like the unit at all? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date on latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you next video. Bye-bye.